Well, friends, today we're going to talk about section 5.4, theorems about definite integrals. And there are a lot of theorems in this section, but this semester we're only concerned with two. And the first theorem, I'm going to make a picture for us to begin to discover. We'll have some point A, we'll have some point B, and these are endpoints. I'll have maybe a function here, let's call it f of x. We can have an x-axis and a y-axis, and let's have some other function here, g of x. And suppose I wanted to know just this area in here, right? Maybe B should be right there. So how am I going to get that? And you know what we could say is that the area from the x-axis all the way up to f of x could be given like this. A to b of f of x dx. Sure. And the area underneath g to the x-axis would be the integral from a to b of g of x dx. But more importantly, this big area, which would go all the way down, yes? That would be this one. Minus this area, which would be horizontal. We'll just make hashes that way. If I subtract from this, I should get everything in that center shape. A to b, f of x dx minus a to b, g of x dx. One last thing that I can do here. The slicing is going to be the exact same way. The endpoints are the exact same way. And so I can collapse this into one integral from a to b of f of x minus g of x dx. Okay, so that's our first theorem, and this is a way to get areas between two curves. Take the upper one, subtract the lower one, and be done with it. Our next theorem talks about the average value. So our example is going to talk about f of t being the dollars per hour I earn after t hours of work, and presumably my wage changes if I work more. Maybe this is an overtime situation or a danger pay situation. I don't know, but we'll have a t-axis, we'll have dollars per hour here and hours there, and supposedly the more I work, the more I get paid. So I kind of like that. We'll do something like this. Yeah, this will be f of t. Now, suppose I'm going to start here and I'm going to end here from A to B. I can certainly get that exact area. And that's going to be the integral from A to B of f of t dt. Now, let's do that unit analysis that we know and love. The unit of dt is going to be in hours. The units of f of t are going to be in dollars per hour. And so murder occurs, and the units here are going to be just dollars. And that's the way we interpret this. This is the number of dollars I earn when working from A to B hours. But now I want to know, what were my average wages? And the unit of that is going to be in dollars per hour. And so what I would do is I would take my total dollars and I'd divide that by the total hours. So what were the total hours? Oh, I went from A to B, and so that should be B minus A hours. In other words, talking about the average value here, I'm going to have 1 over b minus a multiplied by the integral from a to b of f of t dt. And this is your average value formula. this is going to really work in a variety of functions. I don't necessarily have to have this dollars per hour or have a derivative here. This will work for a parent function as well. And maybe there, what we'll do is we'll look at this visual. I take the area from a to b and f of t, namely the integral from a to b of f of t dt. What I could do is I could conceivably juggle the thing around, and I could get a rectangle. And that rectangle would look like the average value. I'm just going to call that the average value of f of t. And I would multiply that by b minus a. I mean, it's a rectangle, and if I say, here's what the average is going to be, I could multiply, get the exact same area. So what I could do, once again, to solve for that average value is I could take my integral and divide and arrive at the exact same result that we have here. The only thing that I want to say lastly is that this is going to work for whatever the units of my function are. If g of x, if the output is dollars, given x days worked, the integral from a to b of g of x dx, unfortunately, is going to have some really lousy units, right? It's going to be dollars days. And that unit is complete junk. But if I divide that by b minus a, and the unit there is days, the days will murder, and this will give us the average dollars we earn. So, I mean, this will go regardless of the function. I can play this game and I can obtain an average value.